Welcome to Better Odds Sports Betting. Here's our hosts, Kev O'Neill and Kyle Hunter.
What's up, everyone? We are back. Conference tournaments are already happening, Kyle, aren't they?
They sure are. Basketball all day. We love this time of the year.
All right. Well, Kyle and I have been really deep into college basketball, and I'm very excited for this weekend. We have the last games for a lot of teams. A lot of teams have that one last chance to maybe make a case to get in the NCAA tournament. I think Arizona State had a little bit of a chance last night and blew it. Blew a pretty big lead last night, but that's how the ball drops sometimes. But right now it's all basketball. We're going to be podcasting a lot over March, talking about the bigger tournaments coming up when the seeding takes place on Sunday. So keep in tune for that. But as of right now, Kyle, we have a pretty big slate, and let's get right into it. Friday, to be honest with you, I capped some of the games. I didn't cap all of them. I didn't find a ton of value, or there isn't like a lot of big names to talk about, but a lot of these games are some of the conference tournaments going on right now. Anything stick out to you that you want to talk about on Friday or tonight, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I had 3 plays for tonight. All of them have moved a decent amount, the lines. I've been getting some good line value. I know that can be frustrating for people because the lines move after I bet it, and it can be a little bit harder to follow. Certainly this time of the year is pretty big for that. There's a lot of line moves in these conference tournament games. As far as games, other games that I'm interested in, Akron and Kent. What a big rivalry game that is. And Kent has the possibility of winning the MAC still, depending on what happens with the Toledo and Ball State game. That game -4 for Kent State with a total of 134 or so. 134.5 on DraftKings, different places, a little bit different lines, but shop around, if you like the over, 133.5 is out there. If you like the under, 134.5 is out there. And Kiev and I know very well that 1 point makes a big difference very often. And this one, I think it's hard to lay too many points in a game that's such a big rivalry game. Some people say Kent has so much to play for. Akron would love to ruin this for Kent. There's no doubt about that. These two teams hate each other. I think under is my favorite play in that game, thinking that the defense will be very good there. The only thing that could ruin that is if they're calling it close, because these two teams are both very physical.
They certainly are. Toledo did beat Kent, so they have that. And then they only really have the Ball State loss. Kent State has the 3 losses, so it would be a push considering the total number of losses. I don't know how they do the tiebreaker there, Kyle. Maybe they don't. Some just share the actual conference. Obviously, the conference regular season number 1. But no, I would lean to the under in this game some. It's that important of a game. I know Akron slows it down some. Not the greatest defense, but their defense has been showing up every once in a while. But Kent State is one of those kind of weird teams that plays a little fast, but they play great defense too. It's almost like they have a little bit of variance to some of their games. Some of them go under because of their great defense if they're off night, and some of them go over. So not interested in the MAC tonight myself. Let's move on to a bigger slate then, and that is obviously Saturday. Massive amount of games coming up here. You can check out all these lines at Betfred Sports. And what's funny is that this UCLA-Arizona game really stuck out to me, Kyle, and I think that's the one I'd like to talk about. Let's have at it then. UCLA just took care of Arizona State. They had to literally make a comeback in that game. I was really close to thinking, well, UCLA could be looking a little bit ahead to Arizona. UCLA already won their Pac-12 regular season. There's no way they can lose it. But what happened is that they just kind of woke up, and that'll happen sometimes. They woke up and then ended up dominating Arizona State. It was just one of those situations where Arizona State completely crumbled in the third, got outscored by 12 points in the third, got outscored by 2 points in the fourth, and they couldn't even cover that spread. And Arizona State, I kind of looked at as a bubbly team myself, ranked 63rd on KenPom. They do have some nice wins against Creighton because Creighton was injured at that time with Kalkbrenner against Oregon, but I'm not sure if they're going to come in. But the big thing for me here is Arizona needs this game more than UCLA. UCLA is already flirting with the 1 seed, and they probably will get a 1 seed. I think the committees are going to look at them, and guys like Tyga Campbell, coming back, obviously Jamie Jacquez and a couple other good returning seniors, and give them the benefit of the doubt. They will probably get some representation for the Pac-12 there. I don't think losing this game would take them out of it. But when I'm betting on a dog, I'm betting on a dog really fighting for this one to kind of move back up into the ranks. Arizona has no chance to win the big Pac-12 regular season. They are the number 2 seed anyway in the Pac-12 tournament, but they're probably maybe a 3 seed even right now in the NCAA tournament. If they get this big road win and do pretty well in the Pac-12 tournament, I think they're going to make a good case for themselves to get into the big dance. Now, this spread, according to KenPom, Kyle, and I don't think that it's going to be this big, is 7 points. I highly doubt UCLA is going to be 7 points. You can call this a revenge game. It might be senior night. But like I said, UCLA needs to stay healthy. Just getting a win in this situation should be fine. They already lost to Arizona. I think Arizona's got a little bit more talent. UCLA's got the experience. But this, in my opinion, is a situation where you're not going to see a 7. You're going to see maybe a 3 or 3.5 as a spread. And if we're fortunate, maybe a 5. I'm taking Arizona in this game. I think they keep it close, Kyle.
All right, so this one depends a lot on the number because 7 is such a big number. I can't imagine it would be 7. If it was 3, I would take UCLA in this game. I do like UCLA as a team. I like them to make a good run in the big dance. How about the matchup of Tubelis against Jaquez here in a game like this? Fantastic matchup. This is must-see TV here in this game. Arizona's question marks for me are the guard play. Creesa is kind of a turnover machine at times. This is a Arizona team that I don't trust as much as UCLA to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. But I think it's a fair point to say that UCLA would be happy to get out of this game with a win. So I'm a little bit neutral on this one, Kiev. I think I will not bet this game. I don't know. Do you have any opinion on the total too? I think this will probably be about 149.
I would say under in this total. I mean, what's funny is the first game went to 110.
Yeah.
UCLA is going to put up defense and they do fluster Arizona. You see some of the good teams even stop Alabama a little bit on defense in the SEC, which I compare Arizona to Alabama. I think their styles are very close, right? When they play a little bit faster, a little bit more haphazard, like you said, turning the ball a little bit. But Arizona, not great defense, but not terrible either. I would definitely lean to the under, being how big it is for them. And I think they step up their defense, and it could be a cold night of shooting. UCLA is fine with just getting out of here by, like I said, winning by a few points. It's hard to bet Arizona games under, but that would be my lean.
That would be my lean as well. KenPom has 151. If it happens to be that high, I'll definitely bet the under. I don't think it'll be that high because UCLA is very good at controlling the pace. They're second in defensive efficiency in the country. I mean, if you look back through UCLA's games, they're holding opponents down to very low numbers here pretty consistently. And like you said, Kiev, the first game was 58-52. Neither of us think this game will be that low, but I think under is a decent look as well.
And Haslametrics has this at 177.89. So, I mean, he's a little bit lower on this. I would assume that Bart Torvik would be a little bit lower on this one too. I didn't look at the game yet. I would assume it's one of the top ones on his Funalytics here. Arizona, he has it at straight 150. I would look to the under too. If it's 151, I'll be probably playing the under as well with you, Kyle.
Agree.
So why don't you pick a game for this massive slate?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games to pick from here on Saturday. This is a slate where I think that you could find a lot of value, you can find a lot of fun games. But let's talk about Boise State and Utah State here from the Mountain West. This is a big game for both of these teams. There's a lot of teams on the bubble in the Mountain West. I still don't know who's going to make the tournament from the Mountain West. Utah State coming off a really nice win at UNLV in their last game. UNLV has got some major problems here lately. But Boise State goes into Utah State. To me, this is a Boise State team that I like a bit better than Utah State, but I know Utah State has a really good home court advantage. Kiev has it pulled up right there on Haslametrics. I can't see that. Kiev, what do they have for home court?
They're 0.31, so they're in the positive. It says 217th, but I think that means because it's on the away. So they are a little bit above average on home court, Utah State.
Okay, and Boise State, what's their road performance been here?
They're 231st at minus 1.06.
Okay, yeah, and this is obviously a game at elevation. Both of these teams are used to playing at elevations. That doesn't matter as much as it does in some other conferences. For me, I think this would be a good underplay because both these teams really need a game like this. Boise State in a better position than Utah State, although Utah State's ranked the highest. If they were left out of the tournament, this would be the highest ranked team in Ken Palm ever to be left out of the NCAA tournament. They don't have great wins, Kiev. This is kind of a test because if you look at Utah State, you're going, maybe not terrible losses. They did lose to Weber State at home, SMU on a neutral, but I'm trying to look at tremendous wins for them, and I'm just not really seeing them. I think they would be well served to try to win a game like this and win a game in the tournament and not sweat out Selection Sunday as much. 144 is what Ken Palm has this one for the total. I think that's a little bit too high given the situation here. This is a massive game for both teams. The Mountain West teams know this is a bubblicious conference. This is a game where I think mid 140s is a bit too high. The first game between these two was 141. Boise State just blew them out at home. I lean toward thinking that Utah State is probably the right side here, but I like Boise State better as a team as far as future value. I just think that this is such a big game for Utah State. But my favorite play here would be the under.
I mean, is Boise State in the tournament though? They've been kind of bubbly, right? They have that big win against Texas A&M, which certainly helps. Utah State obviously was their second best win a while ago, and San Diego State actually. Sorry, I would put them in the tournament with a loss here. Okay, it would be an absolute atrocity to see a team like my Badgers, who choked last night against Purdue, put over a team like Boise State, who has taken care of business well in a pretty good conference. A lot of people argue that some of the top conferences aren't as good as they were before, especially if you look at the ACC. But you got to give them credit for the wins against Texas A&M, who's been running through the you got to give them the credit against the big San Diego State win that they just had. And that last San Diego State win, like we said before, they didn't have Marcus Shaver, so that's a big thing. I said on my show that I'm going to bet any team that's plus 3.5 or better in this position. I doubt I'm going to get it. Ken Palm has Utah State by 4 points. I don't think you're going to get that. I think it's a lot closer. But Boise State has thoughts that they could miss the tournament probably themselves. Now, when it comes with the Mountain West, Kyle, we can't forget that we have to bet the under to advance to the Sweet 16 like we do every year for the total conference. Now, keep that in mind. So I do want to see a lot of Mountain West teams get in. I mean, that thing cashes every single year. But at the same time, I see a 1 or 2 point game on either side of this baby.
Yeah, agree with that too on the big dance, because this is a conference that has a lot of pretty good teams, no teams that are really that great. San Diego State's offense still goes stagnant at the end of games, rely too much on Bradley. This is a good conference. Kiev, this one's ranked better in Ken Palm than is the ACC, which is just funny. The 6th ranked conference as far as power ratings by Ken Palm, and 7th is the ACC. I'm not here to argue whether that's right or wrong, but the Mountain West is a pretty good conference, and the ACC is certainly down this year. So I think this is a good game, a game that I would like to take the under if we do get that mid 140s number.
It's so funny. I believe the ACC is a little bit underrated. I think all these teams should move up 5 ticks or 10 ticks. I might be using that as an angle when filling out my bracket, as well as possibly making some early bets. We've seen this before when the Big Ten was overrated. They all lost. It's just, you have to think, is this conference really as a whole as bad as they are? Or are they just beating each other up? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they all start bad in the non-conference because they're younger. Dukes and North Carolinas in general are younger, not necessarily this year for North Carolina, but just some thoughts on how you should approach it if you want to win your bracket pool when there's going to be a lot of people picking the same teams. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of Big 12 teams in the Final Four, so keep that in mind. You could be that guy that doesn't have that and go very far just because of it. Let's quick talk about another game, Michigan State versus Ohio State, Kyle. And I'm sorry to do this to you, but I will say I'm very bitter at Ohio State because I tried to pick some spots where I thought that finally we're going to get some value back on the Buckeyes, and then I ended up losing, and the spot was Penn State at home. I bet on them against Michigan State at home as well. They're losing 21 points. Well, they got it together and beat an Illinois team that's erratic and doesn't play a lot of defense. You kind of saw that last night. Now, Michigan got lucky with a couple bad calls last night, but Illinois took care of them in overtime and covered some of the spreads, but not the closing line. But then, Ohio State beats them, and really nice win against Maryland. I do give them props. Maryland probably wasted all their shots their last game against Northwestern when they couldn't miss a free. I'm fading Ohio State again. They're on the road. Michigan State kind of coming off a win at Nebraska, which is fine. But I think this Michigan State is shooting a heck of a lot better than I've seen in the past. 5th in 3-point percentage. That is absolutely fantastic. That's not the Michigan State that we're used to, So, I'm very impressed by this team, and I think they could be a little bit of a darling coming in to the NCAA tournament. Ohio State, they already kind of made their showing. They're out of it. They can win this game. The only way they're winning is if they get to the Big Ten tournament, Kyle, and they win the whole thing. Even if they get to the last game, they're out. So this is all Michigan State. I will lay the 6-7 points or whatever it is.
All right, Kiev. So I have to give you a quick family story on this one. So Kiev, my son's pretty into sports as well. My son likes to try to follow Ohio State a lot. And he says the other day, Ohio State's playing better. They could win the Big Ten tournament. So I got to pay attention to it. And I'm like, no. Like, we're not doing this. We're not getting your hopes up, buddy. So it's just funny because, obviously the younger guys, they like to get their hopes up and think maybe they have a chance. And I don't want his hopes up just for it to be ruined. This Buckeye team showed a little bit of heart the last couple games. Nice to see, but this is not a very good team. The Ohio State's just not very good. Holtman's in a bad spot right now. They've got a team that's slowed down their tempo quite a bit lately. If you look at their tempo change, they had a 58 possession game against Michigan State in the first game, 62-41, which, by the way, I think they made a shot right at the end, or it was going to be 62-39. I mean, the fact that Ohio State was at that kind of point total against Michigan State really says a lot. Sensabaugh's a good player. Thornton's a pretty good youngster as well. Michigan State's a much better defensive team than is Ohio State. It's not even close. So I tend to agree with you that I think this is a good spot to take Michigan State.
All right, good stuff. I want to pick one more game.
Yeah, let's go with one more game. Should we go with a big game or under the radar game? Or
Kyle, it's up to you, buddy. We went under the radar last week when we asked this, but you pick.
All right, Alabama and Texas A&M. So we're not going under the radar here. Bama's really been struggling. I know that they've won these games, but they've found a way to win when they've been down. I see Ken Palm has this at 3. Haslametrics is about 3 as well. I'm hoping that Texas A&M is catching a little bit more than 3 points here. I like A&M. I think this is a good spot for them. Williams has been a really good coach late in the season. He's been one of the best to back against the spread at the end of the season. In fact, this would have been one that I would consider for our underdogs to win outright. Although I don't know if it's going to be like a 3.5-point underdog or not, but I think Texas A&M really has a shot in a game like this. This is an early game. Alabama relying so much on Brandon Miller. I don't want to get into the Brandon Miller issues, but it's easy to not be a big fan of Alabama right now based on how things have gone down. Certainly, this is a Texas A&M team that still needs some marquee wins for seeding purposes, and I think this is a great shot for them. Alabama been living on the edge here lately. 2 overtime wins in games that they probably should have lost, and then a 3-point win at home against Arkansas. If they're laying 3 points or more here, I have to take Texas A&M in this game.
Well, Kyle, you unfortunately kind of said it right. This was my dog to win outright that I was going to go to. So I'm hoping for 3.5. I think everybody thinks, Alabama's the you're probably right. But I don't know, being that Ken Palm says it's, going to be at least a 3-point spread here. And what do they have? Yep, they have it at 3. I think that Hasla has it at 3.12, so I'm gonna use that to qualify that it's over 3. There's some dogs that I'm gonna be sniffing out. I'm gonna probably say Villanova is gonna be one of them too. But my case for Texas A&M is quite simple. There is distraction for Alabama. Alabama has already won the SEC regular season. I think Alabama sealed the deal when they beat Auburn with that massive comeback, which I did not enjoy watching. I had a nice little money line sprinkle at about plus 450 or whatever it was on Auburn. I did hit the spread, but I got really nervous in overtime. I was thinking, God, could Alabama just take them over? They had a heck of a lot of home court advantage points, quote, quote. But it's just that situation where Texas A&M is going to, lay the wood, in my opinion. This is a big spot for them as well. They're fighting for a better seed. They're number 2 in the SEC. I'd be frustrated if I took like one of those 50-to-1s or whatever it was to win the SEC, and then Alabama coming back at the end where you could have won it if they just would have lost to Auburn, and then they would have been playing for the SEC. Man, I'd be just a bitter Texas A&M holder, but A&M is just a well put together game. Alabama is like Arizona, as they're, a little sloppy with the ball. They're ranked 232 in turnovers. That's not good. 18.9% of possessions, and they're not forcing a ton of turnovers. They just play fast and they get back on defense. These guys they're athletes, just like Bama recruits for football. They're athletes. But Texas A&M, much better put together team. I like the fact that they can rebound on offense and kind of clean up their boards a little bit. They have balance on offense, ranking 25th in efficiency, and balance on defense, ranking 45th. So this situation's almost like the UCLA situation. Of course, UCLA is the better team than Texas A&M, but Bama's laying points on the road. Arizona, in my opinion, was getting 3-4 points. So I like Texas A&M for sure. But I'm also going to be, just hint, I'll be on Villanova this weekend too, because it's a bigger spot for them against UConn, who UConn can't win anything right now. They're already in the big dance. I'll take the dog that's fighting for his life over the dog fighting for a better meal.
I agree. Our guy Dilberto here in the chat asking about Texas A&M Sweet 16 futures. What do you think about that? It's hard because we don't know what their bracket's going to look like, but I do think Texas A&M is a good team that could win a couple games. So if you get a good enough plus money price, the other thing obviously is a lot of times the money line rollover is probably better than taking the Sweet 16 odds in general. But I think Williams is a good coach. I think Texas A&M is kind of rounded into form here at the end of the season. So yeah, I think that could be a decent look.
Well, they're going to be a 5 seed, right? So you would think a 5 seed has a pretty good way. A pretty good path, as long as they get by the 5-12 upset that everybody talks about, to get to the Sweet 16. So I think that if it's anything above plus 250, plus 300, you take a look at it, because I don't think a money line rollover as a 5 seed would do justice to get there. If you're talking Final Four, it's a different story, because as soon as they pass the Sweet 16 is when they really start playing some good teams, Kyle.
True. Absolutely. So Kiev, do you want to do the dogs to win outright, or do you have anything else you want to cover?
Well, that is my dog to win outright. So
there we go. We just started the segment.
Yeah, it's okay, but I mean, I'm going to give 2. I like Nova and Texas A&M.
Why'd you have to give 2? It's funny. Nova was mine, Kiev.
Oh, geez. Well, I got you back.
Yeah, we both got each other, but I like this because we both think alike quite a bit. I think Nova's playing extremely well right now, and they're not the same team they were earlier in the season. The only question is how many points they're going to be getting in this game. Ken Palm's 5. If this is 5, that's probably my favorite play of the day on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be 5 points, but I think Villanova has a really good shot at winning this game outright. And at this point, with the way Villanova's playing, having won 6 of their last 7 in a Big East that I think is pretty good. I think the Big East could do well in the Big Dance as well. Who would want to play Villanova if they found their way in the NCAA tournament? I don't think many teams would want to play Villanova. So we took each other's play here. So we like Villanova. We like Texas A&M as far as underdogs to win outright, and maybe sprinkle just a little bit on a money line underdog parlay there. I don't hate that. Obviously play wisely. Look and see what kind of odds you can get there at Betfred Sportsbook there on Saturday. But I think that could be a pretty nice underdog hit there.
I was going to say, if we're going to both steal each other's, you got a money line parlay it for like $10 or something, a little bit of beer with something, man. Just you'll probably get like, 10 to 1 or something, 20 to 1 maybe, and a nice little bet like this. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Kyle, where could our listeners and viewers get your stuff for the weekend?
You can go to huntersportspicks.com. Get all my plays. It's been a good last week here. As I said last week, I really haven't had a good college basketball season overall, but it's been a nice run here the last few days. 17-5 the last 22 plays. Hit my 5-star top play last night, the only top-rated play I've had all year. So I'm not one of those guys that beats my chest and says, hey, here's a massive play all the time. But nice to get that one to come in. You can check out all the work there at huntersportspicks.com. Follow me on Twitter at KyleHunterPicks. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube and Kiev's YouTube as well, as we'll be going live here some more times throughout March, and look forward to breaking down all these college basketball games.
Kyle, you never said I have a massive play, and that's what we love about you. We know that you understand the correct ways of betting. Check us out, theoddsbreakers.com. I just put a buy low, sell high article out. We have some great cappers. New capper Rocco is doing a fantastic job over there. You got a lot of great stuff from Sean Kanaki, Patrick Gates, Michael Fordham, and all the cappers that we have here. Sorry if I missed anybody, but we have a March Madness special as well. So check that out at theoddsbreakers.com. We can get our package. I was 62% last year in March Madness. I expect to try to do that. It's not sustainable, but I'm always going to try to get that high again. But I love college basketball, and I love everybody that tunes into this show, and thank you so much for all of your support. And if you have any questions, you can always tweet Kyle at Kyle Hunter Picks, tweet us at the Oddsbreakers, tweet myself at OB Kiev. Everyone enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.
Thank you for watching Better Odds Sports Betting.